Officer Daniel Ellis' patrol car is a memorial to his dedication and the ultimate sacrifice he paid for his community here in Richmond. I'm Sam Dick with live team coverage coming up.
And people who couldn't attend today's services are still finding ways to show their support for a fallen hero.
Hundreds of people lined the streets in Rockcastle County in support of a fallen officer.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening. A tribute for a fallen hero. Tonight, thousands of people are saying goodbye to a Richmond police officer killed in the line of duty.
Officer Daniel Ellis died Friday at UK Hospital. Police say he was investigating a robbery when he was shot in the head 1 week ago today. Today, communities across Kentucky are showing their support for Officer Ellis and his family. We begin tonight with WKYT's Sam Dick. He's live in Richmond, where Officer Ellis was honored this morning before being taken to his final resting place. Sam, it has been really emotional to watch all of this play out today.
Good evening, Amber. It sure has been. So many pictures of support today for the Ellis family. At one point here on US 25 in front of the police department in Richmond, there were school buses lined up all the way down the road for as far as the eye could see, because after all, the wife of Officer Ellis, Katie, is an assistant principal at Madison Central High School. A show of respect to her and her husband, but also many students here from the high school showing their support. As the hearse passed by with the family, surely they could see all the support and love coming from the thousands of people who turned out here today. Earlier today, thousands of people packing Alumni Coliseum at EKU for the funeral. It was a devastating day for many, but also a huge show of support, as we've talked about. Today's ceremony was just another way to show the Ellis family that Officer Ellis will never be forgotten.
As we left the hospital to escort Daniel to Frankfurt for the required medical exam, the skies opened up and it poured rain. It was as if the angels themselves were crying at the loss of this special young man.
Heartbreaking. Even those who didn't attend this morning's funeral still found ways to honor the officer. Let's take a look at some Sky First video. Our officer Don shot in Madison County today. As WKYT Sam Smith shows us, a lot of people lined a Berea overpass waiting for Officer Ellis's procession to pass by.
Waiting and watching. That's what hundreds of people were doing as Officer Ellis's procession went by in Berea.
And to take out 5 or 10 minutes or an hour, whatever it may be, just to say thank you, it's worth it.
They wanted to pay their respects to Officer Ellis with flags, shirts that read "Prayers for 457" and balloons.
It's an excellent show of support and love for the community.
You know, there's been several communities that have come together to show their respect, you know, their appreciation and their love for Officer Ellis and his family. It's not just Berea or Richmond, but it's several communities.
The hundreds watched on the overpass as the hearse traveled underneath and released those balloons as he passed by.
It's very moving to see the support that we're having in our community, especially the atmosphere that now that police oftentimes are facing in our, nationwide, and just seeing this support in our community is just very touching and moving.
In Berea, Sam Smith, WKYT.
And the show of support continued on into Rockcastle County at the high school where the procession went by. Hundreds of students and faculty and staff all outside to say goodbye to Officer Ellis. Phil Pendleton has that part of our story.
800 students walked down from Rockcastle County High School to simply make a stand.
It's I guess, an honor to be out here, but at the same time, it kind of worries me every night. He's working and stuff.
The assembly was very meaningful to students like Grant Bryant, whose father is a police officer.
It's a small town, but seeing everybody come out here to support Officer Ellis, it's just a sense of pride.
You just give take to everybody.
Art students spent the last 2 days making 2 large banners. The principal said that the purpose of the assembly was for students to experience something larger than life.
More than anything, we want them to know that people are behind them and that our prayers are with them.
Across town, numerous businesses changed their marquees to reflect their respect. People stood in silence as hundreds of cruisers and cars went by.
I'm excited, but at the same time, I know it's sorrow upon the family and heartbreak, and I'm just so proud of our school for doing this, and I'm in awe that we can participate in something like this.
They stand between us and chaos, so we can live our lives day by day and don't have to worry about going out on the street, being shot or all that stuff.
A much different kind of day, a different kind of lesson. But one educators say shows how precious life is. In Rockcastle County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Phil, thank you. Now remember, the funeral started today at 11 a.m., but Officer Ellis's procession has just arrived in Adair County about 20 minutes ago. That's the word that we're now receiving. He will be laid to rest with honors at a family cemetery there in Adair County. Amber and Jennifer, I think you'll understand when I describe what I saw here this morning, and that was this. About 2 hours before the procession, there were a lot of children here on the lawn in front of the Richmond Police Department near this memorial behind me. And they were doing what young kids do when they're really young. They were playing and laughing, not really understanding what was happening here today. But when that procession showed up, total silence. The entire crowd moved to the middle of the lane and got as close to the procession as possible, and you could hear a pin drop. It was silence and it was respectful. Back to you.
And Sam, certainly moving from you to watch in person and from us to watch on this vantage point as well.
You know, I've been covering the news a long time, Amber, as you know, and this is a place that you don't want to be reporting from. It's heartbreaking for all of us, including those of us who have to report on it.
That it is, Sam. Thank you. And of course, our hearts and prayers go out to that entire family as well.
That's right. And the police officers who will return to work in Richmond tomorrow. Well, we are wrapping up a cloudy and cool fall day, and it could be a windy and stormy night.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is tracking some rain moving into the area overnight. Chris?
Yeah, a lot of winds are going to gust up tonight, and we will hear some rumbles of thunder, get some locally heavy downpours. That stuff will zip on out of here. All of it courtesy of a strong cold front that is off to our west. Powerhouse of a low pressure. Tornadoes have been reported into parts of Iowa. Snow coming down behind that area of low pressure, and we're east of all that mess as of right now, with a lot of clouds across central and eastern Kentucky. Here's what to expect: a line of showers and storms heading into the overnight. Timeline on that puts it into central Kentucky roughly 11 o'clock, especially that I-65 corridor. Then the closer we get to 6 a.m. into far eastern Kentucky, as that stuff zips through here. Winds tonight could gust to 40 miles an hour. Look at that low, though. Snow west of Omaha. Tornadoes on the ground right now into parts of Iowa. Showers, thunderstorms trying to flare up around Paducah, back into the Boot Hill of Missouri. All of that will roll toward the east, where we have a lot of overcast. But that overcast today keeping the instability down, keeping those temperatures down as well. Struggling to get into the mid-50s, yet parts of southern and western sections of the region hit the 70-degree mark this afternoon. And because of that cool air, the threat for severe weather is greatly diminished, but we're still talking about gusty winds and a chilly weekend forecast when I come back in a few.
Chris, thank you. It has been a difficult week for first responders in Kentucky. John Mackey, a paramedic in Jessamine County, died Monday morning after he was hit by a car last week. Tonight, we're learning Mackey's family will not receive the same state benefits that other first responders do. Tamara Evans shows us how some EMS workers are pushing a bill to help protect the families of those killed in the line of duty.
He spent most of his life working to save others, and while on the job, Jessamine County paramedic John Mackey was hit by another vehicle when he got out of his ambulance. This week, the 40-year-old husband and father of 3 passed away, but Mackey's family will not receive the same state benefits that other first responders do. Emergency medical technician Arthur Cash and members of Teamsters Local 783 are pushing to change that with a bill in Frankfort currently known as BR 91.
This will cover every EMT who works for a government or nonprofit agency, also rescue squad members. It's the same thing that police and fire currently have. We're not asking for anything more.
Right now in Kentucky, when there's a line of duty death, the families of police officers and firefighters receive $80,000 and a tuition waiver to a state school or community college. EMS workers are only included in federal benefits, but not the benefits at the state level.
Unfortunately, when they're out there on the highway inside the roads and they're trying to serve the public, but they're also putting themselves at risk, anything unfortunately can happen. It sometimes does happen.
John Mackey's death this week now has EMS workers once again trying to get the word out. They've been pushing for this bill for years.
Is this long overdue for EMS?
In my 25 years, I would have to say yes, because our training has increased more every year. We're asked to do more in more dangerous type situations even.
Which includes active shooter situations, which some agencies like Louisville Metro EMS have been training for. It's another reason why they want to make sure their families are covered if something were to happen.
We're one big family out there, and I want to make sure the rest of the families get taken care of.
And that was Tamara Evans reporting. The bill will be discussed in Frankfort during the upcoming legislative session.
A man and his grandchildren are dead after a crash in western Kentucky. Our county by county coverage begins in Warren County. The sheriff's office says 50-year-old Robert Vick was driving with his two grandchildren in the car when he lost control and the car went off the shoulder of the road, then hit a tree. All three people in the car died at the scene. Warren County school leaders say the news was heartbreaking for the community.
It's hard not to get choked up when you think about that moment.
Warren County schools have a crisis counseling team to talk to students at Richardsville Elementary. In Breathitt County, investigators have confirmed the identity of a man killed in a fire last week. Police say it happened at a home on Big Branch South Fork Road. They say 90-year-old Troy Neese was not able to make it out of the home. Neese's daughter was home at the time and told police she woke up her father to get him out of the house. Once she got outside, she told police her father wasn't with her. Firefighters are still trying to figure out what started the fire.
Students in Lexington are showing veterans they're appreciated. Coming up, how they're thanking them for their service to our country. And on WKYT News at 6, we'll have more on how communities in Kentucky are remembering Officer Daniel Ellis.